What's up, guys? Andrew Goldfarb here from IGN. I'm with Charles Onyett.
How's it going, Andrew? Looks like we got some BioShock footage here.
Very exciting. This is the first few minutes of the game.
Like the very start of the game. So, spoiler alert, when you start BioShock Infinite, when it's available in March next year, this is what you will see, as the screen tells you right now. And it begins with a quote.
Yeah, it begins with Elizabeth asking Booker if he's afraid of God. He says, "No, but I am afraid of you." Very interesting shades there of what Elizabeth is capable of.
And if we pause it on this quote here, so Booker is the main character in the game. He goes to a city in the sky called Columbia to retrieve a woman named Elizabeth who is trapped there in the city. Lots of mysterious circumstances surrounding that. This quote kind of hints at something that may be happening in the game while you're in Columbia, because parts of the environment will flicker. Booker will experience flashbacks to strange memories. And you're not really sure, you're sort of sure what's real, but not entirely sure. So this hints that something very, very strange could be happening up there in terms of how Booker is actually perceiving that world. We don't actually get to see Columbia in this trailer, though.
Yeah, it's very, the whole thing's very surreal. Also, just briefly, this name Lutece does come up again once you're in the city. You get a telegram signed by Lutece that's kind of foreshadowing something that happens almost immediately after. And, you know, I think it ties into that what's real, what isn't kind of mood of the game. So to continue here.
Yeah, as we move forward, we'll actually get into the gameplay. The opening to Infinite ties a little bit into the first BioShock. They're not really related, but Coast of Maine in 1912, set before the events of the first BioShock. And you see heavy emphasis on water. Again, we have a lighthouse. You're in the ocean again. But you're also in a boat.
You're in a boat.
You're not in a plane crash. So that's good.
Yeah, you're down a little lower this time.
And to clarify, again, this is not BioShock. You're not playing as the same guy. Totally different protagonist, storyline, and setting.
Yeah, there's no indication these universes are connected whatsoever other than the name. This couple, Charles, these folks that you're with in these boat are kind of an interesting pair. You hear them kind of bantering. They're going back and forth. They're very strange, and these are characters that you encounter again in Columbia, which is very interesting.
Yeah, they pop up a couple times, seemingly at random, offer cryptic messages, and it's not really clear what their purpose is. But at the start here, they're bringing you to this lighthouse. They're handing you this box. So if we pause here, that's you, Booker DeWitt. This is your box, and within are several items that will become very useful once you get up into Columbia. So he will open the box here.
And you mentioned 7th Cavalry Wounded Knee. We found out he was in that battle, kind of tying into actual history.
Yeah, that's part of his history. He's an ex-Pinkerton agent and was also military. So I believe he does open the Booker. Open it. Open the box. There's also some very odd conversation going on between the two in the boat here, the implications of which are not entirely clear, but they seem to be talking about an experiment that has already failed.
Could be Columbia.
Whether they're already referring to Columbia and everything is just one big dream, you know, who knows. So within the box, if we just pause here, we saw Booker just took a gun. He'll need that. There's also a code. That Monument Island is actually where Elizabeth is held.
And that's actually the statue she's in.
Yeah, she is actually within that structure. We can see a picture of Elizabeth that he's looking at.
It says here, bring her to New York unharmed. This is Booker's goal. Booker has to bring her back in order to wipe away his debt, which we don't know too much about, but you assume it's pretty substantial.
Yeah, and also we don't really know anything about the identity of who tasked Booker with doing this.
Right.
And the key, too, becomes an important thing as well. It allows him to free her.
How he can free her, exactly. And you see some currency from Columbia. These are Silver Eagles. This is how you'll buy your upgrades and things once you're in the city. This code in the top left is very interesting. We'll see this again in a bit. We'll be talking about it in a moment. But the scroll, as it were, the key and the sword are three very interesting symbols. We'll explain why in just a few minutes. But continuing on.
Yeah, continues his journey here. But again, I mean, what they're talking about isn't exactly clear, but it seems to hint at some sense of kind of unreality about the game where, you know, it's not the type of experience like in BioShock where you just arrive at a dead city. Like once you get to Columbia, it's very much a city that is populated. There are people walking around. Booker interacts with them. It feels like a live place. But then again, there are these constant hints that there's something much something much more supernatural going on, I guess.
Yeah, there's something deeper happening.
Maybe there's a reason for it that isn't just, hey, it's magic.
Well, and I mean, and even this is indicative of that. You see these people leaving. They're going away from this lighthouse. They're not coming with you, and yet you do encounter them again in Colombia, which is very interesting.
Yeah, and also like what they tell you right before you pulled up there, where they're like, oh, he doesn't row, explaining why you're not helping rowing, and that doesn't even really make any sense. Like, why are they saying that? Why are they so adamant about making that point?
Very strange characters.
A lot, even from the very beginning, so many questions already. And they just keep introducing more.
This is, once again, DeWitt, bring us the girl, wipe away the debt. Does say this is your last chance. A little bit of blood, Charles. A little ominous there.
Yeah, that is foreshadowing something that we'll see in a little bit here.
And it's worth noting that quote, bring us the girl, wipe away the debt. You hear those specific words many times in the game.
And so this is your last chance. It's clear that this note was left by somebody related to your employer.
For sure.
Whoever has brought you here. Obviously, Booker has not been to this area before, and immediately once you get in, you see the beginning of religious imagery here, where you see religious messages.
And Booker says, "Good luck to this."
Yeah, and this goes on and on. Like all of the placards here. Once you actually get up into Colombia, you're actually in a church of some kind, or right when you get there. And Colombia seems to be based on a religious worship of the founding fathers of America.
And this is a perfect example of that, the note Sodom. I know you were looking into Sodom and its religious imagery a little bit.
So it's associated with, it's a biblical city associated with sin. Sodom is what the people of Colombia refer to everything that isn't Colombia. They call the ground below Sodom. And then they call Colombia Eden, it is referred to. So a purity of rebirth, of renewal. You can see that theme in how they refer to the land around them.
Yeah, they kind of view Colombia as this paradise floating above it all, and kind of that ascent to heaven, I think, is interesting as well. And
if we stop on this, there's a lot of interesting stuff here actually on this map.
So you think this is Colombia's flight path, you said?
I do. So on the right of the screen, you can see Colombia. There's a sign there that says departing, returning, and it has a timetable. And then the map itself seems to plot out a flight path of Colombia over the United States. What's perhaps more interesting is the little sticky note that is on the map, which it's from -C, which may or may not be Comstock. Comstock is the religious leader up in Colombia who is promoting this religious agenda.
And they call him Father Comstock. He's basically the god of the people of Colombia. They see him as their prophet. And it's interesting, this note says, be prepared, he's on his way, you must stop him, C. And like we said, you assume the C is Comstock, you assume the he is Booker.
Yeah, and if this note is given to the person in the lighthouse to stop you, that note was left. That is a different note than the one you saw on the front door. These are different people leaving these notes, and it's clear that whoever left that note, whether it was Comstock or not, was aware that you were coming and wanted to stop you from entering Colombia. Why? Again, we don't know.
Exactly.
But there is something associated with you being kind of a chosen omen of destruction or something once you enter Colombia, which, again, we don't know the answers to.
That's the thing. They call Booker the false shepherd, and there's more of that. And Elizabeth is referred to as the lamb, which is why that symbolism is very interesting. This guy's not having a good day, Charles.
No, so, we're assuming that this is the guy who that note was written for. It's like, hey, you should probably stop he who's coming, who we're assuming is you, Booker. So this guy was not able to stop you, obviously, because whoever left the note on the front door also did this and ensured that you could basically climb the lighthouse and enter into Colombia.
Some brutal instruments of torture in front of him, too.
Yeah, and there's quite a bit going on here. You can see some shimmering coins in the sides there. You can go through.
More silver eagles.
Very, very BioShocky, go through environments and just yank stuff off of shelves wherever you can.
It's worth mentioning exactly that. You can interact with all of this environment. You see the sign, as you said, referring to Eden once again as Colombia. Or sorry, vice versa. Colombia as Eden.
And then as we kind of ascend the tower here, we are into the area where we see those symbols that we saw in Booker's box at the start.
Right, and these symbols are sort of indicative of what you were talking about before, which is America as a religion for the people of Colombia. They really worship these people, and that's indicative right here that's manifested rather as this is Benjamin Franklin in the background as sort of an angel, as
Yeah,
sort
so
of this like religious figure, you know.
Yeah, and you see that when you get up to Columbia, you'll see Franklin and Washington and Jefferson actually dressed up as angels, which corresponds to the symbols down here.
Right, exactly. And so I consulted with IGN's resident historian, Colin Moriarty. We had a long conversation about these. I think the key is easy, right? The key is certainly Benjamin Franklin, his famous, electricity experiment with the kite and the key. That's easy. To the left, this scroll, Colin thinks it could be the Declaration of Independence, which would be indicative of sort of the scholarly pursuits of the Founding Fathers, which would be Jefferson, would be the scholar. To the right, the sword would be Washington. He's someone who fought for the freedom of America. He, is this figure who was leading troops and all of that. And I think it kind of makes sense that these three symbols are indicative of those Founding Fathers.
And so when hit in sequence, it seems like this is kind of a summoning ritual for Columbia or something, because we see kind of a Close Encounters of the Third Kind style exchange of sound and light here, where you get these booming colors and noises from the sky, which I think it's pretty safe to assume is Columbia, because we kind of need it to be nearby in order to actually get there. I mean,
there's not another floating city up there that's communicating with you.
I don't know what else could be making those noises, so I think it's pretty safe to assume that's Columbia. And then we see how you actually travel into the sky, which seems to be kind of a flip on the first BioShock in your transit to Rapture, where you took an elevator down. In this case, you jump into a chair and take a rocket up, which we see kind of close around you here.
Exactly, and as it comes together, kind of the steampunk-style mechanics inside of this thing are actually kind of reminiscent of a bathysphere. This kind of does feel that that BioShock vibe. But
we don't get to see what Columbia looks like in this video, and there goes the gun.
Yeah, broadside or pistol's done.
Unfortunate, but yeah, rocket thrusters go, and you're skyward, and then this will drop you in Columbia, and the game will begin. Hopefully, we get to see some more video footage of the game. Clearly, there's a lot going on here. There's a lot that's built even in this relatively brief opening sequence. We've played the game for a couple hours. It's really good. We're looking forward to more. And the release date is now March 26th for Xbox 360, PlayStation 3, and PC.
Yep, and as this says, BioShock Infinite Industrial Revolution. Get some of that DLC right now if you want it.
No, you really don't have to.
For more BioShock news as it happens, keep it locked to IGN. Thank you, Charles, for the time today.